Hello guys and welcome back to your favorite online TV, Track Mind TV. This is the Power Up Show where we highlight on biblical messages and responses to some of our lifestyle issues that we encounter in our community. Now today we have a very great guest with us in studios, Maggie Gathuku. She's an executive director with Timazi Magazines. If you have been on the high schools, you have of course interacted with these magazines, and it's really so nice to have you.
Thank you.
So my name is Jayden Steve and I'll be your host. So karibu sana.
Thank you so much.
So nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Would you look at this camera and introduce yourself to our viewers?
Okay, my name is Maggie Gathuku. I work at Timazi Africa. I am the content editor of the magazine. And yeah, we live in Kikuyu and work among high school students. And our joy and our call and our objective is to teach young people how to know their faith, love their faith, live it, and defend it. Yeah, I'm so happy to be here this morning.
Great. It's so nice to hear that to defend their faith. Yeah. Would you tell us what is Timazi Africa all about?
Timazi Africa is a parachurch organization founded when? Maybe 2007 is when we first wrote our first magazine. But we have been in existence for longer because we worked under the Trinity Fellowship. A ministry that is an indigenous ministry that works among high school students in this country. I think since 1963, I'm not wrong. But then therefore we joined them as ministers, and then later on we left and were flagged off. We were given a hand of fellowship to go and work now as Timazi Africa. So Timazi Africa is a high school ministry, and our work really, like I said earlier, is to work with high school students. And our objective is that we will raise offensive Christians, not only defensive Christians. You know, Christians who are not afraid to defend their faith. So that the louder student who is not a Christian, who intimidates the Christian, becomes perhaps, wondering, or why do you do the things you do? So this Christian is not always defending themselves, but asking questions. Why do you do the things you do? Yeah, and so I think we've been doing that now for those many years, and we are grateful. Yeah.
Wow, tell us, why do you focus on teenagers?
But the truth is that statistics over the years have showed that many students and many young adults, or rather let's just say adults today, gave their lives to Christ when they were in high school. And I think we are compelled that the high school years are actually the formation years. They're the years that you actually have to have your own faith, not that of your parents. The truth is, even if you grew up in a home where parents love the Lord, you were taken to church, so you went to Sunday school and you were happy to be there. But by the time you turn about 13, 14, you start wondering whether this faith, is worth living for. And so the years where people question their faith is the years of high school. We think so. And I think with experience, we know that students firm up their faith or walk away from it in those years. And so we felt we would give our energies towards that. Yeah.
What's your first, do you just do magazines, or there's something else that you do?
So the magazine is our flagship, what I would call our flagship issue. But basically we would be in a high school, on invitation. We'll be happy to do a weekend challenge. We'll be happy to speak on a Sunday service. But the other thing also we do is that we train teachers to be effective Christian teachers in high school. So we will do this we'll go to Kikuyu campus, for instance, Kenya Science, where teachers are educated by the government. And then we have a program that runs parallel to their school program. And then we help them see that teaching is actually a calling. Because the truth is that I may go to a school every Sunday, and I can't even afford, because there's so many schools. But a teacher is always there. A teacher is there on a Monday, on a Tuesday, on a Thursday, and they're in the classroom also teaching. Okay. And so we want a Christian teacher who thinks integrally, you know, that to know that mathematics is part of life. How do I teach math as a believer? And how do I actually share my faith as a Christian and form the worldview of this believer while I'm teaching Kiswahili, for instance. Yeah, so we hope that by the end of the 4th year, the student will not go to look for a job in the bank, but will be happy to go to a high school and teach. Okay. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Was your first issue? I'm sure, like when you are starting, there are so many things that you looked at.
Yeah.
And what was your first issue, and why did you focus on that particular one?
So that was 2007. 2006, 2007 is when there was a lot of entertainment in church, or rather entertainment started creeping into the church. And it was perhaps that time that you had the birth of the youth service, the birth of the teen service. Before then they were there, but they weren't, you know, in almost all the churches in the city now. And so there was a lot of hype, I thought, and rather we felt so. A lot of release of contemporary music that was going on around that time. I think around that time is when Fundi Wambao was released. Yes. And there was a lot of fun, you know. So young people were coming to church, and you would go to a youth service, and there was more fun than there was content. Yes. And so our first issue was called Fun Bila Fujo. Fun Bila Fujo, yeah. Okay. So you can go to church, you can be in a meeting and indeed have fun, but you don't have to have fujo. Yeah. To be able to, you know, and so I think that issue really just wanted to help young people know that there's a difference. It's okay to have fun, but don't mix the two in terms of content and faith formation, because sometimes you may lose the student when you bring too much fun into the message of the gospel. So that you need to remind the student that it is a serious message, yes, and there is a place where you can have fun in the church because it's okay, but then where is the line? You know, can I actually be able to have a serious moment of 30 minutes of preaching and the student is listening and understands that faith, and then, you know, walk away and go and have fun. That's okay, yeah. Right. So just addressing what is the place of fun really in the Christian faith. Yeah. Wow. I think I have never read that. You probably never saw it because you were, I think later on, it was a small pamphlet. It wasn't a magazine. Okay. So this is the new development. Yes, yeah, because I think the first one is this thing called dating. That's what I read when I was in Form. I think I was in Form 1. Yeah, that's 12. Okay. Yeah. So what are these contemporary issues that you've really found within the young people that you've actually addressed? There are several. I think we are probably doing our 35th issue now. Wow. Yeah, so we have a few that now perhaps I could just begin by how then do we even do it. Oh yeah, please. Maybe that's easier. Yes, yes, please. So one of the reasons why we wanted to do Timazi, so it is a magazine by design, but a discipleship tool by content. Yeah, so it is regularly. Yes, we release it regularly, so it's a magazine by design. How regularly? Every once a term. Okay. Every once a term. So that's 3 in a year. 3 in a year. Okay. Yeah. So usually what would happen is we will plan before time what we will deal with. Okay. But should there be an issue that rises and we think that we need to address it, then we will probably postpone one issue and do that particular issue. Okay. Now, and our goal is to help the young person come from the concrete to the abstract, really. Like, this is what is happening. For instance, if we talk about, let me talk about what? This one that you mentioned. This thing called dating. Now, this was not an issue that was contemporary in itself, or rather what you would call a current issue. This was an issue we planned to do. Okay. Because we think that students need to know about marriage when they're still young. Okay. So this issue is helping a student to form a biblical worldview about romantic relationships. Okay. So that you don't form those worldviews when you are on campus, and that's when you're trying to think about marriage, you want to do that when you're still young.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So we'll talk about dating. So this may talk about dating, but really we are talking about what is the biblical a worldview about it. So we'll talk about issues of these ones. I mean, let me talk about this one for instance.
Okay.
So this is what we'd call a current issue. This was a current issue.
When there's cheating in exams.
Yes, this is 2015.
Yes.
When cheating in exams was everywhere, including working schemes available. And so we felt that it is important to help a young student to make a decision about their hard working skill. And I mean, this is where I was talking about an offensive student. Because a student perhaps knows it's okay not to cheat in exams. But the Bible doesn't put it outrightly, you know, don't cheat in exams when it is KCSE. This is the verse, this is... So the students would be asked, you're saying we don't cheat. And na hii leakage, imekuja shule, you know, how do I not use it? Give me a good reason. So this was just helping a student to form a biblical basis of defending their position. You will be surprised that this magazine landed in one of the schools, and the students who had planned to cheat tore it into pieces.
What?
Yes, in a school somewhere in Kajedu. And it's I mean, those are the stories we want to hear.
Right.
Yeah, because they could tell that, you know, this has a good defense. I should not cheat.
Yeah.
But let me think, I didn't see it. Let me try to do it. I didn't see it.
Oh, wow.
This was a current issue. My dress, my choice. I'm sure you remember this.
Yes.
And so we wanted to help students form a biblical basis about dress.
Wow.
What does the Bible say about dress?
Wow.
Is my dress truly my choice?
Wow.
So when you look through, we will talk about where did even clothing come from? What did God have in mind? And then now as a Christian, can I be cool and modest? I mean, yes, because those are lines that you must deal with. The culture is powerful,
that's right.
But the Bible also should shape how we think as believers and so much more, I think.
Wow.
You know? Yes.
I love
yes,
this.
And maybe this one was also a current one on tribal clashes.
Yes.
I'm a Luo, you're Kikuyu. How do I relate with you and we are believers? And let's form a biblical basis about, because I mean, you want to have that mind by the time you're leaving campus and you're ready to vote. So that you don't vote as a Luo, you vote as a Christian.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which is the best of this that has really been embraced by teenagers, by your audiences?
Wow, it's difficult. It's difficult to...
Like, which have you
But
really
perhaps
gotten
this
good
one, we've printed these thrice.
Okay.
We printed 1,000 copies.
Wow.
So maybe this is probably one of the magazines that is most read.
Okay.
There was another one that was called Swag versus Sanctity.
Yes. Swag.
Yes.
I remember that one.
That one was also quite a sale. We haven't been able to print again.
Okay.
So that one talks about the story I was talking about entertainment in church and how do I love dance and then love God at the same time. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. So these contemporary issues, how you also partner with churches?
Yes.
How is it different when it is with churches than high schools?
Oh, it's like black and white. I mean, it's,
really?
Yes. It's churches are good partners.
Just say it.
Churches are good partners. But the truth is that most churches don't put a lot of money towards their young people, and that's a very sad issue for me. And you realize that the commitment that you need to actually form the faith of a young person, it is more financially demanding than even the adult church, which sometimes we don't think a lot about. So the churches will be happy as long as it's not too expensive, and yet so it's difficult sometimes to be able to work with a young person who is in that church. But the other issue, I think, when the youth pastor needs to really buy into what you are doing for that magazine to find effectiveness among the young people. So we have a number of churches that are happy to partner, but those are churches that are thinking about content and time, because so because you have to, for you to benefit, you have to read the magazine, and you have to engage it. You have to have a study for up to about 10 weeks.
Wow.
Which is a lot of content development, and rather content engagement. And then of course the other it's not even a challenge. I think it's a good thing. The young person is not in charge most of the time. You see, the 4 years, you are in charge 3 weeks.
That's it.
Sometimes 2 weeks, then you're off again back to school. So the youth pastor is not able to engage the young person on a long, for a long time, because the young person is not in charge anyway. So the churches are happy to have the magazine, but sometimes they may lie on the table longer than maybe they should, because the student is in school more often than not. Maybe think about the young adult who can also read the magazine. So the young adults also perhaps would enjoy the magazine, and I think we have a number of churches that buy for the youth. Which is beyond 21 up to 26. So those ones can't read. But the young person hasn't benefited a lot from Timazi. The teen service hasn't benefited a lot because of especially availability of the teenager.
So unless they get it in high school,
yes,
they can't.
So what we do and actually encourage churches to do is, if you have a child at Alliance High School, pay that magazine for Alliance High School, because your child is now benefiting. You become a sponsor for that school, and I think that has been better, especially when you speak to individual people. Yeah.
Tell me, are you in all schools?
Oh, that would be a dream that
that's why you
I look forward to. Yes.
Okay.
But we have about 9,000 high schools in this country. Perhaps going to 10,000 now. We are barely scratching the surface. We only have 500 schools that have subscribed. Those are now schools that have a regular subscription to the magazine. However, I think we have over 1,500 that treat the magazine without a regular subscription. We hope that someday we'll be able to enter every high school in this country.
What does it take to get into a high school then?
It takes a lot of money, but it also takes a lot of commitment, because the schools are scattered. And you don't post a magazine, you must visit the school. So between January and April, we spend a lot of time visiting schools in this country. So that's what it takes. It also takes a willing teacher and a committed teacher, most of the time. The principal may not be very keen, because sometimes, and then it's not a school product, so sometimes the school principal will not be able to come through, but the teacher who is part of the school, this the one who takes care of the CU, is the one you need very much for this magazine to thrive.
Are you only in schools that have CUs?
No, not exactly, but mostly.
Because they are in place there.
And a school that doesn't have a Christian union is possibly a private school. Because the public schools are required to have the CU club as a requirement by the government. So what may not be possible is when you have a CU, but maybe you may not have an administration that supports them. But the CU exists. Yes, of a Christian union. But we have a number of schools that have that kind of thing, but then they have a teacher. So what you need is actually just a committed Christian teacher.
Everything starts with a story. And when you ask me how I got to start Track Mind, there's a story behind that. How did you sit and think of all this? What's the inspiration that you have behind Let's Imagine magazines and everything else that you are doing?
There are many stories. But I'll tell you this, maybe you'll see whether you read it or not now. I'm forgetting the process of. So what happened is, one time I was walking in town, and I saw the Insider magazine. I'm sure you know the Insider magazine.
Yes.
And it had content that I thought, really? And then I visited a high school. Yes, I was still doing high school ministry then. And then I found the guerrilla marketers through the fence, selling the Insider magazine. And I thought, isn't that the magazine I saw in the streets of the Nairobi? And I felt, my goodness, this magazine should not be in school. I mean, this content is bad. It's just bad content for a high school student. And I thought, why am I complaining? What can I do? So I went back home and I talked to John about it. And then he told me, I've always thought we should have a magazine. And I told him, maybe this is the time. And that story ended. So a year or so later, he was seated in the office, and he got a call from a teacher who wanted a speaker. And then he said, okay, I'll be coming. And then he got another one, and another one, and another one for the same day. And then he knew, I can't go to all of these schools. Then one of his colleagues was seated in the office, said, why don't you write that sermon and we put it on a paper and send it to all the others. And then the others said, why don't you do a magazine? And that's how Timazi was born. In an office meeting, thinking through it, and then someone asked, what do we call it? He said, let's call it Timazi. Timazi is a Swahili word for plumline.
Oh.
Yeah, and then we say, so the student becomes the wall, and the magazine, the word of God is the plumline.
Wow.
So live your life from the word of God every day. So, and then that, they say, is history. Yeah.
I have seen some of the topics you've handled. They are a little bit, of course, contemporary, and some of them touch on personalities.
Okay.
How has that been? There's one, I don't know, they're on Churchill Show. Would you tell us a little bit about that?
No longer funny.
No longer, Churchill Show is no longer funny.
It's no longer funny. I think when the show began, it was a nice family comedy show. But I think over around the time we were writing this particular magazine, like this one, this one.
Yeah.
There were a few comedies that were directly mocking the gospel. For instance, there was one particular one where this comedian was in the desert, dressed like Jesus, and then looking for bread, saying, turn that, make it bread. Wow. And then he turns it into bread and he takes it with soda. I mean, a completely outright mocking of the gospel. Another one was talking about Jesus being on the cross and saying that the third thief would say, ini mahogany ni Mkikuyu, where tutoe tuende tukatengeneze kiti.
What?
I mean, and it had gone on for a while. So I felt like they had crossed the line of comedy. You know, comedy is fine and it's okay to be happy and laugh. But I think there needs to be a time where you say no. And then there was also a lot of mocking of preachers, whether they are true or not. There was a lot of that I thought was undeserved.
Right.
So I felt the show is no longer funny. And there was also comedy that was not fit for children. Yes. So, and since it's a family show, it comes at 8 p.m. I thought then the parents who perhaps never watched needed to know what's happening. And later on, you see that this is it. Culture is shaped, and media shapes the culture of people by communicating what is happening. But media also suggests culture. So what comes out of shows like this, it is one of those philosophers who said, make people laugh and you can tell them anything. So comedy is not just comedy. Comedy is making someone sit down and lose their guard. So because when you laugh, when you're sit to watch a movie, for instance, you're not thinking about the movie. So whatever worldviews are being passed, they just pass through without your engagement. And that's what comedy does. So I think what we wanted to do is to alert the student that don't consume everything you hear. Consume it always with a pinch of salt. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's another one that you've written on the mighty prophet.
Oh, this mighty prophet. You want to talk about the prophet?
Just a bit.
Yeah, so, okay, this was a very, I don't know, I think we did this issue, and it took us about a year or so to print it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had scheduled it for January of a certain year, but we printed it in January of the following year.
Okay.
Yeah, because we weren't sure we wanted to print, even though we knew it was important to print. Okay. Because you have to weigh all the all your stakes. You know, is it going to be beneficial and is it helpful?
Yeah.
But it was until we went to a high school, and one of the students, and there was a group of students meeting who were belonging to to this meeting. So what had happened is that the CUs had split, and that was like the 4th or 5th school. Then we went to another university and we found another split. So we felt would rather talk, and would rather be bold and say, let's be careful about the false prophets. So this magazine doesn't talk about war as it were. It talks about the false prophets and how can you identify them. But it has a testimony of a man who gave us his story of his encounter with this prophet. Yes.
Okay.
And Kevin Okwara is an entrepreneur in Eldoret. Happy to give his story if you'd like. Yeah. So he's the one who wrote. Who was among the very first people who walked through the war and gives us an inside story of who he was, and we felt it was important to have a story attached to what we had felt was important to say, and just give a warning. Yeah, that even though he appears like he's true, the truth is that he's not, and it's important to say it and say it. Yeah.
Wow, Timazi, when you are developing this content, you give young people thoughts. An option on what to choose, or do you tell them this is what to do, or you just present and now make a decision for yourself? I'm just asking because I've seen some of them you read like cheating or not to cheat. It's like, you know, these are questions that young people battle with.
Yes.
Is this person right? Is watching this one an issue? You know, they are so inquisitive, they are full of questions. Do you leave them with answers, like answers have already been given, or you will present to them two ways and it's just for them to choose?
No. We give the answer.
We give the answer.
We give a biblical answer.
Biblical answer.
Yes, we give a biblical position.
Okay.
Our aim, like now for instance, this one, for to cheat or not to cheat, we want you to pick the magazine asking the question.
Okay.
But when you finish, we want you to have an answer. To come back here and ask to cheat or not to cheat.
Okay.
And if you have read it properly, you probably will say, then I cannot cheat.
Yes.
Because why do we do that? Because it's a discipleship tool. So it's not a magazine as it were to give an opinion about something. So what we do is we give a biblical position and help you walk towards the truth. Yes.
Okay.
So we'll do one issue, one article that talks about this is it, but we'll also help you to walk towards that truth. We say this is where you are, but this is where you ought to be. How do you get there? Yes.
Maybe the last one, how can people access these magazines if they're not high schoolers and they have teenagers that maybe they cannot access the magazines in school?
Wow.
Yeah.
So at the moment we are not in any bookshop.
Okay.
And it's because of our audience. Our audience doesn't go to bookshops.
Okay.
So this magazine is only posted to schools.
Okay.
But parents who are happy to have the magazine can reach us on
yes.
Can reach us on 0715 0705 182 141.
Okay.
0705 182 141. Because I mean, unless we come to a church, it's difficult to put it on here. However, soon and very soon we will be doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of course, we will be putting those details on the comment section.
Okay.
Wow. So, what maybe is your final remarks to our audiences pertaining all that you do and the regulation of basically a life of a teenager who is struggling with almost all or few of the issues that you've had? Yeah.
Over the years, I have learned that the Bible is where the buck stops. And I have known that there are many opinions in the world and there are many people who tell us what to do, but the buck stops with the Bible. And so every young person or every person who works with young people must lead them to the scriptures all the time, because the sessions will change, the culture is different, context is different, but the Bible remains the same and stands all the time. So I think even if you're not able to read Timazi and you have your Bible, you have what it takes to lead this life victoriously as a young person. So read your Bible. Yeah.
Wow, it's been so nice having you. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence, and all the best in the work that you're doing. We'll be sure to partner with you in the best way we can. Yeah, thank you so much, our audiences, for keeping it track mind. It's been an honor having you. Be sure to engage with us on the comment section, and you tell us which issue that you have read or you would actually love to read. And of course, if you want to reach the Timazi Africa, we'll of course be sure to keep their links on the description section below. Thank you so much. It's been nice having you from this side. My name is Jayden Steve. Till next time, keep it track mind.